This is the third and final video in the series, Green Flags to Look For. In each of these 3 videos, I gave you 8 different green flags that you should look for in your interview, meaning signs that a company is a good place to work. So the opposite of red flags. And I gotta tell you, I saved some of the best ones for last. I'm gonna give you 8 more green flags to look for that if you're interviewing, you should probably consider taking the job with the company. If you haven't seen the first 2, when you're done with this video, go watch the first 2 because I dropped some good ones in there too. Let's go. Hi everybody, this is Ben White with Ben Talks Talent. I've got 12 years experience in interviewing, hiring, and recruiting. And I'm passionate about using my experience to help you become the best candidate possible and land your next job. And in today's video, I'm gonna finish the series with the 3rd installment of 8 great green flags, the opposite of red flags, that you should look for when you're interviewing with a company. But before we get into the main topic of the video today, do me a favor. If you are new here, take 3 seconds, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you never miss one of my 3 free weekly videos that are all designed to help you maximize your career. All right. Let's get into the video. Now, the first green flag in this video, you tell them you have concerns. And instead of them being like, oh my gosh, a candidate has concerns about our job, they address them for you. So like maybe you tell them, well, my concern is there doesn't seem to be objectives for this role. And they go, well, thank you for pointing that out, Ben. Let me tell you what the objectives are on a 6, 12, and 18-month basis. Or maybe you say, I'm concerned about the lack of training and development coming into this role because I'm a little bit less experienced. And they go, don't worry about that, Ben. We got you covered. We have training and development. Whatever the issue is for you, if you voice that concern, and the client, instead of reacting, or the company, instead of reacting in a negative way, goes out of their way to show you how they're going to address your concern, that is a green flag. The next one, so you're interviewing and they ask you a question like, so Ben, what is your preferred method of feedback? Or Ben, how do you like to be managed? Questions like that are basically checking in on your preferences so they can customize their approach to you, absolutely a green flag. One of the things that I think is really important about being a leader is that you are adaptable. You can find what works best for your people and you can be that for them to maximize their potential. And so any manager in the interview process is asking you questions like this and probing and making notes. Not only does that mean they are probably interested, but it also speaks to how their leadership style is going to be adaptable, which is a green flag. Now, the next green flag I'm gonna talk about here is, let's just say you're in a panel interview and you're asking a question like, can you tell me the direction of the team over the next 18 months? And people outside of the hiring manager, right? So some of the future teammates, they're able to speak to it. They're able to answer. So what does that tell you? Well, it tells you that 1, they're included in the planning and the vision of the team. Love that for them. But in addition to that, they're also being afforded the opportunity to speak on things. So that probably means the manager is being intentional about growing them because they're including them in strategic discussions and they're empowering to answer strategic questions. Whenever I see that in an interview process, I see that as a massive green flag. The next one, let's just say you're applying for a role and you find that the application process from a system perspective is seamless and not clunky. What this says to me is that the company understands how important candidate experience is and they've invested in it. And for you, it is a pleasant experience as you go through. To me, that's just the type of company who is forward thinking. They understand that it's not just all about sales and churning and burning and a product, but it's about your people, investing in them, not just when they're your employee, but on their interview process, their onboarding as employee. Companies who invest in their people in every aspect or in every facet of the process, pre-hire, beginning hire, as an actual employee, that is a huge green flag. So when you notice that when you're applying, it is smooth, it is seamless, you have a good experience from a system perspective, well, that's a green flag. Now this next one might seem a bit weird and some of you are like, Ben, is that really a green flag? Yes, it is. But the green flag is the hiring manager actually asks you questions to qualify you for the role. What this means to me is they don't just assume, well, you got to me, you must be qualified. No, they're invested in the process. They're asking you questions. They're making sure that you are indeed a good candidate. Why? Well, because they're probably going to invest in you. It means they are an experienced interview. It means that they are doing the things they need to do and they are doing it right. That's important. If you go into an interview with a hiring manager and they're like, all right, well, no, I have nothing else. yeah, you're hired, or yeah, we're gonna extend you an offer. To me, that just shows a lack of investment. It shows a lack of planning, it shows a lack of strategic thinking. And all of those things are important if you're going to report to this person. They're going to be charged with your growth, your development, motivating you to succeed, all those things. And something like hiring is worth doing. And if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. So somebody who's truly invested in making sure you are a qualified candidate and does their due diligence in the interview process, while that may make it more challenging for you as a candidate, that's a green flag. The next one is really important, but they have clear examples of employee training, employee development, and employee growth in your team. So if you ask them a question like, can you give me an example of a candidate or an employee on your team who has grown under your leadership, right? That's a forward, aggressive candidate question, and I love it. But if you ask that, right, and they can give you multiple examples. Well, yeah, there's Ben on my team, and Ben came in as a junior associate, and we put him through sales training. We sent him and did this. He got certified in blank, and now he's a senior person on my team, and he's actually going to be moving into leadership. That is awesome. That's a green flag. If you interview with someone, how uninspiring is it if they can't give you a single example of anybody who's been on their team over the past several years who's been able to grow and ascend within their role? Yeah, that's uninspiring. So the opposite of uninspiring is inspiring, and if they can give you an example of somebody who has grown on their team, huge green flag. Now the last one that I have here, and this is sad to see it go and to be at the end of this list, but all good things must come to an end. The last one is they are honest in their, when they're interviewing you, when you ask them about the state of the company, right? Like they're not just, oh, it's amazing, but they say, here are the things we're working on. Just the same sort of authenticity they expect from you as a candidate, you should expect that back, right? If they ask you, Ben, what's your greatest weakness? And you go, my greatest weakness is I wasn't able to locate a single weakness. I'm too strong in everything. They wouldn't love that, nor should you love if you ask them questions about the job or about the company. They can't keep it real with you. Keep it 100. You want them to be authentic and share with you the actual state of the company. I consider that to be a green flag because nobody needs to be sold a bill of goods. You want to walk into something that is actual, that is real. You want to know what you're going to walk into. Note here, honesty isn't a green flag if it's a train wreck. Like if it's an actual train wreck and they're like, oh, Ben, it's terrible. I'm going to be firing 4 people on the team next week. We don't have training. We don't have any systems. So we just write things down on a bunch of Post-it notes and we put it against the wall. However, the paint's chipping. So sometimes those Post-it notes, they fall. And then at the bottom of there's water that's been leaking. So then the Post-it notes, they actually end up being washed down a drain. That type of authenticity, well, kind to let you know what you'd be walking into, is no longer a green flag. That's a train wreck. Fun note, I actually wrote the last part of this on a train going from Madrid to Sevilla. And Sevilla was beautiful. It's one of my favorite cities I've ever been in. But there you have it. Those are 8 additional green flags you should look for in your interview process. If you haven't watched 1 and 2, watch those because these were meant to be a series, kind of like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or Harry Potter. And I solemnly swear that I was up to good when I was creating them. So you can absolutely go through these, make a list, 24 different green flags that you should look for when you're interviewing. And just for the record, any one of them doesn't mean it's an amazing company. But if you go through and you notice like 14 of these things, it's probably a pretty good place to work. Good luck in your next interview. You got this.